Hey again everyone, and welcome back to the channel for yet another installment in our new figure showcase series. And for today's episode, we're going to be jumping into third party a little bit, and we're going to be taking a look at the most recent release from Present Toys, which is their Morpheus, based on his appearance in The Matrix Reloaded. So, pretty psyched to have this figure. I don't own a Morpheus, so this will be the first one in my collection. I am a huge Matrix fan, and I think for the longest time, I had kept up hope that Hot Toys or somebody else would be tackling this license. But it hasn't happened, right? We've gotten a ton of third-party releases of Morpheus, of Neo, even of Trinity, right? Fishbone Toys has jumped into the fray. I think Present Toys is teased that they're going to be making more, and now we even have InArt teasing that they're going to be making a new Neo, which I'm very interested in. But this is Morpheus, right? And when Present Toys announced this, I was definitely pretty excited. Full disclosure, I love the movies, right? Obviously, The Matrix, the original one, is a classic that still holds up to the test of time. I still revisit that movie, and it's really so well done. And while I know that the sequels didn't meet with the same recognition, I personally did think that The Matrix Reloaded was amazing, right? Not on par with the first, but definitely amazing in its own right. Lots of great action, particularly the highway chase, which is where most of the poses you'll see with this figure are going to come from. So very excited to have a Morpheus in hand, because I think just like Neo, Morpheus, Trinity, those are the three primary characters that you really want to have, and of course Agent Smith. But yeah, so very excited to have this in hand, again based on his appearance in The Matrix Reloaded. So taking a quick look at what Present Toys is giving us here, you're not getting much, right? You're getting the figure in that very distinctive look with the long jacket. You're getting a pair of MP5s. You're getting a Glock with the extended magazine, a display stand, a sword, and then just some assorted hands, as well as, you know, some extra goodies like the blue and red pill, which aren't really Matrix Reloaded specific, but you know, I'll take them. And then you do get his sunglasses, which we're gonna get into in a little bit more a little bit later. But look, starting with his hands, let me just put it this way, they're very generic, right? This is Present Toys, this is third party. You're not going to be getting those hands that we see from Hot Toys or from InArt with the nail polish. So look, they're serviceable, they're very pliable, which means that at times they do have some difficulty holding the weaponry, especially the sword, which we'll get into, which is die-cast, but again, they serve a purpose and they work. Next up, let's start getting into the weapons, and you do get these two submachine guns that he has. Look, having gotten a lot of military figures, a lot of Hot Toys figures, where a lot of care has been given to these weapons, these are serviceable, right? They do include removable clips, and they do have those sights on top, those scopes that do have kind of a faux lens look to them. And it works really well, but they just seem clunky, right? And they're a little too compact. I've already looked at other sites like Monkey Depot, for example, to just see if I can get some alternates, because there's just something a little bit off about them, and they're definitely better alternatives in the 6 scale market for those weapons, but serviceable. And then you do get his Glock, which he uses in that highway fight scene against the Ghost Twins with the extended magazine. Well detailed. It even does have some stamping on the body of it, so that's pretty impressive. While you can remove the clip, you cannot slide back the top of the gun, so it is very much a single molded element. But again, for what you're getting for third party, is serviceable. The big surprise for me is the sword. The sword actually has a lot of really good detail on the handle, including the hilt and the handguard, and then the sword itself is actual metal, which is very beautiful, right? It looks great. It's probably the best looking accessory here, but it does add a little bit of heft, and with the way the hands are a little bit not as stable, right, I do have some concerns about the long-term viability of the hand holding that piece, but that is a very impressive piece. Now let's look at the glasses. The glasses, I think, are actually a tad bit small, but I will give credit to Present Toys for trying this, right? Because Morpheus has those very distinctive pair of glasses that he just clips onto the bridge of his nose. So for me, the question was, how are we going to basically be able to attach this to the figure? That is where Present Toys has a fail, which you'll see later on. But there's just no way of doing that without some kind of supplemental assistance, right? So for me, I ended up using some tack. Not the best looking thing, but again, while I appreciate what they were trying to do, I just wish they had been able to provide a mechanism to let you actually connect this to the figure. And then looking at the last set of accessories, you do get the blue and red pills. They're fine, right? They're just little accessories that you're probably going to lose if you're not careful. And look, they very much go with Morpheus, but they're not very Matrix Reloaded specific. So great to have them. I don't think they're necessary. But now getting into the figure itself. Let's start with the sculpt. This is third party, so when you buy third party, you know what you're getting. And if you've gotten Present Toys before, some sculpts have been impressive and others not so much. This one I think falls somewhere in the middle, and I think it's definitely assisted more by the sunglasses. But look, there is a lot of detailing to the sculpt. I see a subtle likeness to Lawrence Fishburne, especially a younger Lawrence Fishburne. It's not perfect, right? It's subtle. Without the glasses, I don't think it's 100%. It's there at all, to be honest. But it's serviceable again for third party. Now with the glasses on, I do think the figure looks much more like Morpheus from the movie. But you do start seeing that I think the glasses are just a little bit too small, which I appreciate, right? Sometimes Present Toys and third-party companies will give you sunglasses that are actually a little bit oversized because of the sheer scale of it, and you don't want to break these. Here, I think this could have benefited from just being a little bit bigger, and then you run into the issue, of course, that this doesn't connect to the bridge of the nose. If it had been some other company, maybe they would have done something with magnets, but this being third party, you do get what you get, right? And you don't get upset. So what I ended up doing was, again, I used some tack, and in the long run I'll probably fix this up a little bit to try to hide it a little. But with that, I was able to put the glasses on, and I do think that definitely gives the figure, elevates the figure a lot more, where the likeness does get closer to Lawrence Fishburne and Morpheus. While not completely perfect, I do think it's something that looks pretty decent overall. Now, looking at the overall figure as well, with the jacket and the tailoring, I do have to give Present Toys credit here. Tailoring is pretty nicely done, right? And that jacket with the faux alligator kind of material to it is actually pretty impressive. There is some wiring at the base, so you can get it in some dynamic poses. And then the underlying suit as well, that purple suit with the green tie and the clip and the black shirt. It's actually really well done, right? So the only slight hiccup with this figure is he does have some elements on the sleeve that you've got to kind of tuck in because it's this white like undersuit to give him a little bit extra weight. So if that does get exposed, it does take you kind of out of the reality of the figure a little bit. But look, overall, I think this is actually a very solid release, especially for the cost. In this day and age, when figures are going $250 and over, this was still a sub $200 figure. That comes with a price, right? That comes with you're sacrificing likeness. You're not getting the perfect figure by any means at all. But it's actually a really solid figure, and I think solid may seem like I'm settling, and that may be a reality because I definitely needed a Morpheus in the collection. But for third party being such a kind of, you're taking a chance when you buy third party, I think this actually delivered much better than I anticipated. And I think while there are issues, right, the body is a little flimsy, so that might need a swap down the road. But base out of the box, it's not a bad figure. And it's actually probably one of the better Morpheus figures we've gotten. And my only hope is, this, I'm not going to say this is a placeholder because I do like the figure a lot, but hopefully down the road somebody does do a licensed Morpheus and does give the character kind of the respect it deserves, and we can put it on the shelf with the other Neos and hopefully a Trinity and an Agent Smith at some point. But for now, I think Present Toys did a great job for the value that you're getting, for the cost that you're getting. There are some things that maybe you're thinking I'm being a little nitpicky on with the weapons, for example, but figure poses well. And most importantly, if you are a fan of The Matrix and The Matrix Reloaded and that amazing highway chase scene, there are a lot of great things you can recreate with this figure. So for me, extremely happy to have it, and I think, again, if you go into this knowing some of the limitations that come with third party, I don't think you'll be totally disappointed. So just a few of my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and as always, we'll touch base on the next video.